Hello and welcome to Labour Lens. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week's edition of the program, we'll continue our conversation about activities at the 112th International Labour Organization Conference here in Geneva, Switzerland. We also have news stories for you. We will be right back.
Is planned by the President General of the TVC, Comrade Festus Osifo.
The Trade Union Congress of Nigeria Southwest Zone held an inaugural summit at the International Conference Center in Ibadan to discuss welfare of its members and how it can be improved upon. At the event, there was a panel discussion which was aimed at discussing the contributory pension scheme 20 years after.
The organized labor actually have to do to ensure that we tap into the benefits of the reform that took place last in 2014. Very quickly, I would like Mrs. Folashade Ononuga, former DG LASPEC, to tell us what has been the experience at the state level.
There is a big problem for pensioners in the country today because what they are taking as pension cannot take them anywhere. It is so low. It is absolutely low. That's the truth. And many of these people are retiring into penury and depression and things like that. So the issue is this. For that kind of, it's a function of two things. Number one, maybe employer did not pay when they were supposed to pay the contributions. The funds could not be invested at the proper time. What a labor leader can advocate is a situation whereby for additional gratuity benefits for those when people are retiring. Maybe it's in the law already. If the state governments can be compelled to provide gratuity benefits, in which case we would have a hybrid scheme whereby all what is in the RSA, so to say, will buy pension benefits. It will increase the benefits. Then the gratuity package, the gratuity benefit, which is a DB arrangement, can provide substantial gratuity. I think that would give us a leeway into ensuring that pension contributions are increased, and of course, then the gratuity remains. So whatever years you have spent, if that gratuity is brought in, it takes into consideration your salary at the point of exit, and then they pay you your gratuity, which could be 300%, as the case may be. It has a salary escalation rate. That's the way it operates. But that's number one thing that the labor can do. You can advocate for that. Another thing that labor can also do is to have a situation, because if you tell the government to come and pay more money, the issue is, will the pension structure, how will it accommodate putting in money for additional benefits? The way the scheme is designed, that is not the way. You can't just put in money, because immediately you leave employment, immediately you retire. You transit from a retirement savings account to a retiree account. And it cannot take money. It is like locked in. You cannot take in additional inflows into it. Let every state government have records of people that retire, because private sector will not do this. Let them have these records, and from time to time, give them grants. At least it will still have a sense of belonging that we work for this government, they have our records, and they can still call us from time to time to pay us entitlements.
One other thing the unions have to do, the labor movement has to do, is that when a person retires, there are two principal things. The health of the person. You know, when you are aging, health becomes a critical issue. Then we don't also have social security in terms of accommodation. When I was an active trade unionist, I called National Housing Fund National Housing Fraud. I call it National Housing Fraud because people have contributed and retired and did not get money to build houses or buy houses. But meanwhile, when they are contributing the money, they were taking the money and giving it to estate people who are building houses workers can never get into. How can states that don't have pension laws for workers who have spent 35 years, 30 years, 25 years to work for states, But governors and deputy governors who have spent only 8 years with their houses of assemblies, which are stooges of the governors, they are quickly to make laws for those governors for 8 years. And these states don't have laws for their workers. But I take the federal government. The federal government has not reviewed pension for contributory pension, not even once. And it is a constitutional matter. Section 173, subsection 3, says that pension should be increased with every salary increase. And if there is no salary increase within 5 years, pension must be increased. The federal government has not done anything on that. And it behoves the trade unions to ensure PENCOM will not be able to do that.
Take PENCOM, for example. It's an employee of government. When government doesn't comply, what can PENCOM do? You go to your employer and challenge him? No. I think it's moral suasion. When we talk of even government, who, apart from the politicians, the career people are in government. And I won't say politicians are thieves, but if they are thieves, let's check on the career people working with them. And if they want them to comply regarding anything, it is the career people that will make it happen. They know how they can paint it. By and large, it's been moving. There has been improvements, but there can still be a better improvement. Take, for example, government cannot be coming out to make sentimental statements. Of recent, they said they are taking 20 trillion from pension fund. People were scared, all right? But by and large, from the day one, they have been taking nothing less than 60% in terms of investment from this fund.
Very quickly, you preempted me. That was supposed to be the next question I was supposed to ask Comrade Rufus. And I would want you to react to that. The federal government announced that they wanted a certain amount of money from the contributory pension scheme. Now, he has said it's sentiment because it's a usual practice. For you, as someone that has experience on this matter and as a labor leader, what is the standard when it comes to how these monies that belong to you and I, how should it be treated?
Well, the act is clear, and it's not ambiguous so far about the issue of where to invest the money. And I want to say this, that we work also, we must unite for the interest of our own class. If you are romancing with the ruling elite, thinking that they will take it serious, you are committing what I can term class suicide. And on that note, I want to urge all of us to be also conversant and be acquainted with these laws in the first instance. Don't forget, those people who made the law, majority of them, they are in their own companies when they were doing that law. Because in 2003, we made a lot of presentations to the House, to the National Assembly, on the premise how this thing will be run. The government shifting the responsibility to us so that we can also continue to fend for ourselves when we retire. And of course, the issue of investment is very key, very germane. And that's why most of the workers are clamoring that immediately they retire, they should give them all the money there so that if they invest on their own, they will make use of the money. For instance, if you have 10 million naira today, you keep it and you invest it in a custodian, whatever, on your own. Presently, you are sure of getting 80%. But if under this pension scheme, you are retiring, you are getting peanuts, at least 25% lump sum or thereabout. Depends on the amount you have there.
We are in a very serious economic situation in Nigeria. If we were to go back to the old scheme, how would the government or the employers be able to fund the old pension scheme in this, dire economic situation, when we are even struggling to get the employers to pay sufficient, adequate and living wage.
Participants contributed to the conversation on how the contributory scheme affects them.
What we should be talking here, maybe we're going to have another session, I've not checked the program very well, that you will now think again and come up and say, okay, what are the implications of labor leaders in Southwest saying we don't want contributory pension scheme? A sister retired 12, 13 years back. She just got her gratuity last year at age 72. How many of us will live till that time? Somebody talk about health. We know that I'm well over 50. We know that immediately we are 50 and we're going up there, our health, we pray it doesn't fail us, but it will be failing us with the prevailing circumstances.
It's designed to attack us. And we are beginning to see the results. Because it's not meant to be us as workers to be contributing for our future. It is the responsibility of government to fund, to ensure that our future is guaranteed. Having served the state.
To speak against it and let that put an end to what? Contribution pension scheme. Nothing to celebrate from here.
We know the challenges that we face, and that's why we are discussing this. It is not necessarily to throw away the baby with the bathwater, but to look at where we are, how far we have come, and to also see how much we have been underserved by the system as of today, and also to creatively and objectively profile solutions. It is not about what we feel today, but about what we can create, what improvement we can bring to the system for the sake of the future. So beyond this, there are very beautiful ideas that have come here today. We have listened to our erudite speakers, the panelists. We will have to go back home, and the job goes back to us in our hands.
In the best position to be able to ask, not only demand from our employer, but also, reorientate our members so that they will be able to be acquainted to the reality, particularly now we are talking about economic reality on the ground. And so we are bringing different people who want to have much knowledge, and no knowledge is lost about the pension. We have been contributing to pension scheme for the past 20 years, and there are a lot of questions broadening the mind of workers. This will give us opportunity to ask, to know much about pension, to know much on how we are going to secure our future, to know much on how we're going to even contribute our quota to the economic development of our country and our immediate society. And I think that's why this summit is very, very important.
Where we are, how can we really make this work? How can we safeguard our future? We're going to retire, and it is in retirement where we're no longer strong. That's when you even have health challenges. When you retire, that your your earning power has reduced. How do you manage yourself? What are the hopes? What are the opportunities, the solutions and all that, the things that you can do? Those are the things that have brought us here this year. The third basic need of man, which is shelter. How will someone work 30, 35 years, you retire, and you can't even have roof over your head. You continue to be tenant wherever you are.
If you have seen our style in TUC, we have not been confrontational. We believe that we are partners in progress with the government. We are not opposition parties. We are not trying to castigate anybody. We are not trying to oppose anybody for any political gains. We believe that it is by discussion that we are going to get through with what we believe should be done. And that is why many of the times we propose to government, and especially some of us that are coming from the oil and gas sector, Pengassan and Nupeng, we have been partnering with the government all over the period of time on how to actually move the economy out of the doldrum that it is today, and not particularly just asking them, do this, do this, do this. We have been telling them how we feel things can be done.
Why can't we have a rethink? Should we continue to be putting our money to the poors or asking some criminals.
On the profile interview segments this week, I'll be speaking with the National President of the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, who also doubles as the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria President. He brings us up to speed on several activities at the ILO conference, while emphasizing the need for workers, employers of labor, and government to participate in conferences like this. It's good to have you on the program.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sharon.
112th ILO conference in Geneva, Switzerland.
Yeah.
Can you share with us what your experience has been so far towards ensuring that there is social justice and decent wage?
Yes, you know, every year this is one conference that labor organizations, trade unions, employers, and government look forward to share experiences, to share knowledge, and to break into committees and subcommittees so that we will come up with a common position on several and ranging issues. Yeah, so this year issues bordering on decent work and social justice. You know, decent work, it has been championed by ILO for a very long time, and a lot of successes have been recorded in terms of decent work in some countries. I would say, okay, probably in some continent, but a place like Europe, literally, they've been able to combat issues that are bordering on decent work. So the level of indecent work in that continent has reduced compared to a place like Africa, compared to a place like South America, and if you go to countries like India, you go to countries, even countries like China, you still have lots of jobs that are not decent. So ILO continuously promote decent work, and I think this year as well we'll come up with a collective position that will better entrench and better attract government all over the world and employers all over the world to move away from indecent work and to gravitate much more towards decent work. So, the experience has been quite good. Meeting colleagues, meeting friends from different parts of the world is quite interesting.
Many people always argue about the essence of workers even participating in a conference like this. Would you want to enlighten Nigerians about the need for workers to engage in such conferences?
It's very good to engage in such conferences. Like you talked about a committee. So if you participate in such committee, you are meeting people from diverse backgrounds. You are meeting people from different continents, from different countries. And you are meeting people as well with different level of experiences. Because you may be facing some challenges in your home country. You may be facing some challenges in your trade unions or in some of the affiliates in the centers. You may not clearly understand how to deal with those issues. But when you come to conferences like this, you listen to others. The issues that you could think that these are big issues could be issues that others may have resolved years back. So tapping from their experiences, learning from their knowledge, and putting heads together and defining a better path forward is quite good. So I think the importance of conferences like this should not be underscored, or rather should be underscored and notified, because it is really important for us to continuously participate in such conference. So anybody that thinks it's just a jamboree, they should have a rethink, because this is one conference. In fact, this is like the Christmas of labor movement all over the world, because you come here, you learn, you meet friends, you peer review mechanisms, you review where you are, you learn from others, and it's quite good.
Okay, talking about the conference, during the conference, of course, there's been this continuous discussion about social justice.
Yes.
And we know that we can't achieve social justice without decent pay. Back at home, we know that there is this conversation about the new national minimum wage and what the price should be or the cost should be. Whatever the case may be, can you tell us what are some of the clauses that would help the presidency and workers when it comes to what can be a living wage
What are the parameters of things that government can do to alleviate the sufferings of the people?
Yes, you know, currently in Nigeria, we are faced with socio-economic challenges. Today, you know, the cost of literally everything has gone above the roof. If you look at cost of food, cost of transportation and all that, they've all gone up. If you look at the level of inflation that we have today as a country, it has gone haywire. So currently these are the challenges. So now discussing the issue of minimum wage within this context will naturally be difficult, will naturally be explosive. So where we have found ourselves today is having a conversation on minimum wage in this kind of environment. And just as you've clearly said, it is very difficult for you to talk about the issue of social justice when people are not adequately remunerated. So the remuneration is key to whatsoever that you do. So from the part of labor, we were advocating and pushing for issues that are bordering on living wage, that we should be paid a living wage. But from the side of government and the organized private sector, they also said that no, that what we are to discuss, that the law that has expired that we are to discuss is minimum wage, that is not about living wage. So these two arguments.
Are you looking at the possibility of maybe making it maybe a yearly conversation, yes. Not maybe 4 or 5 years?
Yes. It's one of the push we have. One of the push that we've had. You know, the tripartite committee is supposed to meet, advise Mr. President. But Mr. President will now submit the result from the tripartite committee to the National Assembly. But the work of the tripartite committee, after concluding that work, we could not agree on what a common term would be, so we submitted 250,000 naira, then 62,000 naira from the organized private sector and government, so to the president. So the president is expected to now transmit that to the National Assembly, where the law of debate will now take place. But more importantly, because of the level of inflation that we are facing today as a country, because of the fact that our micro and macro economics is not adding up today, because of the fact that we are facing challenges brought about by both the macro, both the monetary and fiscal policies, so of government. So waiting for another 5 years, we don't even know where we are going to be. We don't know what the purchasing power is going to be. We don't know where the consumer price index is going to be. So because of all these, we are advocating that the minimum wage act should last for 2 years maximum. Worst case scenario, it should not exceed 3 years. So that is our target, that is our push, and we'll constantly strive to ensure that we achieve that.
Talking about welfare of workers, I remember very clearly, less than a month ago, Trade Union Congress, which you're the president, Southwest actually had a conference, like a summit, where different issues were actually discussed. Particularly, the issue of pension was of utmost importance for workers in that region. Can you tell us, is this going to be a yearly summit? Are you looking forward to ensuring that similar summits happen across the geopolitical zones?
Yes, I don't want to take much credit for that summit. It's actually the brainchild of the Southwest Zonal Chairman, led by the Chairman of Lagos, and ably supported by the Chairman of Oyo, the Chairman of Ogun, Ondo, Ekiti, Osun. You know, so they came together and put that summit together. I was invited, so we gave them moral support from behind, but it was actually their brainchild. And I hope that the summit should be on a yearly basis, because we should not be tired of JoJo. We should not be tired of having summit, having conferences, having conversations. And when those summits are held, we push the outcome of those summits to government. We push the outcome to those in authority, to employers, both in private and the public sector. So I commended greatly the efforts by the Southwest Chairman to put that summit together and to talk about the issues of pension. You know, recently we've been having a lot of hula baloo regarding the pension, how government is going to take the pension fund and put in some areas that are not so clear. So bringing workers together to discuss about their future, because pension is actually the future of the workers. Because when, by the time you finish, after 35 years or 60 years of age, and there is nothing to fall back on, it becomes a problem, it becomes a challenge. So that is why, as you work today, you have to place an eye on the pension. So for us, it's key. So that summit was quite apt. Yes, we will encourage them to ensure that it should be annual. I know putting things like that together is difficult financially, you know, you need to put a lot of resources together. But we encourage them to make it annual. I also encourage other zones. I think the Port Harcourt, the Rivers chairman is listening to me now. We encourage other zones as well to do the same. Within their group, within the geopolitical zones, we come out and we look for issues that are tying us together within that zone. We advocate, we push, and we submit the results to government. So we encourage that.
Okay, finally, what would be your message to Nigerian workers at this time?
Yes, I wish to, first of all, commiserate with Nigerian workers. I'm commiserating with them because of the current economic challenges that they are facing today in Nigeria. But they should also be hopeful, because a man without hope, life is a bit difficult without hope. So I encourage them to be hopeful that better days surely will be ahead. And we, the leaders of trade unions in Nigeria, will continuously strive to ensure that their lives are much more better. Then beyond the current minimum wage that we are talking about, across various affiliates, Pengasan, Fortop, most especially those in the organized private sectors, there are collective bargaining agreement going on. For example, Pengasan, within the last 1 year, we have put in place over 30, 40 collective bargaining agreements that have increased the welfare packages for workers. In some places, we put in place 100% salary increment. In some places, 150% salary increment. And for an oil and gas worker in Nigeria, you know what that means. So we'll continue in that strive. So on a daily basis, we'll continuously fight to ensure that the welfare and the issues bothering Nigerian workers are in the front border.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Sharon. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember that labor creates wealth.